One thing you can be sure on in this life is that everything will change. Welcome to Thrive and Serve, where we explore how thriving as our most authentic selves powerfully amplifies our impacts in the game of business. I'm Colin Scotland, your host, and today we're talking about change, the inevitable variable, and the only thing that we can rely on as being constant in this life. Take a deep breath with me. And let's dive in. Bob Dylan said, "The only stable thing is change." And there are so many quotations around this. I will share quite a few of them. Ultimately, the one thing that none of us want is the thing that we get. We want to be in control. We want to have a sense of control because death is looming for all of us. It is the one inevitability that we know will happen, and yet we push it down into a compartment inside of ourselves, and we try with every ounce of our being to be in control, to have the illusion of control over our circumstances, over our life, over our business. And this is where we often find ourselves trying to cling on to things. Buddha talks about clinging and attachment, having this sense of, I don't want to let this go because I'm going to feel like I'm out of control, because I know I'm going to die someday and I'm scared stiff about death. So the fear that's deep rooted within us drives our actions in the game of business every single day. We either cling on to something, we stay attached to it. We don't want things to change. We don't want things to be different because it scares us at our core. It's fear. It's the emotion of fear. We don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to deal with it. And so it creates almost automatic action from us in how we show up in the world. So if we take this understanding that fear is driving our actions, and we sit back and look at what's actually happening and understand in the context of all of this that there is actually no such thing as control. Control itself is merely an illusion. It is a sense of, I can relax for a moment. I feel like it's okay. I feel like I'm in control. When actually, control is not yours to have. In fact, quite the opposite. One thing you can be certain of, one thing you can anchor into in your life is that change is inevitable. This too shall pass. There are a number of universal laws. There are universal truths of existence at play. There are forces of rhythm, of seasons, of timings, of change at play in the world. The world unfolds. Creation is unfolding in every moment, in all of its glory. Heraclitus said, "A man can never step into the same river twice." So imagine that we're at the riverbank, we put our feet into the river, and then we step out of the river, and then we're very careful. We put our feet in exactly the same place. Exactly the same place. Why is it not the same? Well, think about it. The earth is spinning on its axis and hurtling through space. The molecules of air around you are changing. The water is constantly flowing. There are energy, movement, molecules, things, and everything is changing. The stones on the riverbed have moved. The water that you stepped into the first time is now 500 yards downstream. There's different rocks, there's different fishes, the air that you're breathing in your lungs is different, the blood that's flowing around your body is different. It's in constant movement and flux. which is a beautiful thing when you can conceive of it and perceive it as well. So when you can understand that everything is moving, everything is fluid and in flux all the time, it's the very nature of life. If it wasn't moving, then it would be dead. And then we would reach that inevitability of the end of this life where we no longer draw breath in and exhale breath out. When we hit that point, we're dead. Our time in this body is over. So in the time that we are in this body, it is so important to understand and appreciate that this too shall pass. And it's no good fighting it. It's no good waving our fist at the sun, wishing it was the moon, wondering why it's nighttime. Why is it nighttime? It should be daytime right now. All of that is just holding on to that need for the illusion of change, of control, and not appreciating that change is an inevitability. In fact, when we think of it this way, change becomes your anchor. Change becomes the thing that keeps you grounded. You can anchor in change. You can be rooted in the energy, the divine energy of the interconnectedness of all things. That which truly is. When you are rooted in that, you appreciate that that exists in all things. And there is nothing else except that flow, that movement, that energy that exists in rhythm of perfect divine harmony. On all the planes of existence, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, it exists, it flows, and it moves through all things. And it's constantly flowing like a river flows, like the sea and the tides and the moon. Everything is constantly moving. We are constantly moving with every breath in and every breath out. And that is the anchor. Let that be your grounding as you play the game of life, the game of business. Because then we are not attached to, it has to be like this. It must be like that in order for me to be happy. I must hit this level of revenue in order to be satisfied. I must have this number of clients. That client can't say no. They can't. Why are they not interested? Why are people not listening to me? And all of a sudden now what we're doing is we're heaping judgment onto self. We're heaping judgment that diminishes that sense of who you truly are. Not who you think you are. Not who you think I think you are, but who you truly are on the inside. You inside there. Who knows that that inevitability is facing you one day, and yet we just push it away. I can feel it just saying it. We push it away. And so we cling on to a sense of control. I can organize this. I can do this. I can have this the way that I want it. And actually, that, although it doesn't feel like it, is building your house on sand. The bedrock, the foundation is the eternal. The isness that is, the divine, the spark, the interconnected part of who you are as much as I. And we are all the same. We are all connected through that divine essence, that spark, soul, spirit, however you want to describe it. There is an interconnectedness that controls and dictates the flow. When you anchor yourself into the reality of what is, And what is constant change. That scenery of life is constantly unfolding around you. Just as the leaves fall off of the tree and then the buds come up and then the buds burst into new leaves in a new season. That is constantly happening in our bodies, in the world around us, throughout the entire universe. When we anchor in that change, now we take a different approach, because now we're not needing our product launch to be a certain way. We're not needing things to work out the way that we expect them to work. We are doing what the Taoists call Wu-Wei. We are flowing with the divine, with the unfolding of creation as it is, in effortless effort, flowing with that movement of the universe. And so in that approach, doesn't mean that we don't affect our will, that we don't set intention, that we don't meaningfully try and interact with this. We do that in spades, because we are really riding that wave of co-creation. And so how do we do this practically? Well, there's a really simple way to embrace change in everything. And it's a concept called beginner's mind. It's a concept of curiosity. I often wind my clients up because I'm like a 6-year-old child. I'll just kind of go, why? Why are you doing that? So why? But why that? And I have this I genuinely try and foster this natural inquisitiveness, natural curiosity. There's a quote by Eric Hoffer that says, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it says about, in times of change, learners will inherit the earth and the learned will have no place, because the world doesn't exist for them. When we learn something and put it in as a skill, then because everything's changing, the true successful people in this world, in this life, are those that can adapt. So your skill is not one of acquiring knowledge. Your skill should be one of the ability to learn, the ability to adapt, and the ability to be flexible in the face of change. Think about it in a simple business perspective. So we are running a campaign to drive new clients. And so in the old way of thinking, the fear-driven way, we would run the campaign and then we would be like, oh, this hasn't worked. That hasn't worked. This is a failure. This is not good because of X. And oh no. And there's can you feel the negativity in that response? Contrast that with what we're talking about here. And we run a campaign and it's like, we didn't get as many clients as we expected there. What can we do differently? How can we allow this to change? How can we adapt? How can we try something else? How can we take the element that did work and emphasize that and turn the dial up on those things that did work? So now that's the difference. You're still trying to effect change. You're still trying to impact through your actions, but you are doing that in the context of Wu-Wei, of effortless effort, of flowing with creation. And the precursor to that is that sense of curiosity. What would happen if we did this? What would happen if we did that? And why does that work the way that it does? And why does it have to be the way that it is right now? And this really is a calling from God, from the Creator, from the divine, calling to you because it wants to create with you. It wants for you to be the instrument of that divine unfolding of all things. And so we have to take a part in that. We are here in this physical space and able to allow life to unfold. We are instruments of that unfolding and nothing more And such a beautiful thing that is, and such a gift and such a blessing that you get to do that, to breathe in, to breathe out, to live in change, to love change exactly as it is. All things are. They're neither good nor bad. They just are. So live with that change. Embrace Wu-Wei. Embrace change. Embrace curiosity and the willingness and the ability to always be learning. That is your soul's mission on this earth. It's to learn, to evolve, and to grow, and to help others do the same in that process. That is why every single one of us is here, to walk that walk. And walk that walk taking great strength from the fact that everything changes, because now it is no longer a source of fear. It's not something that causes us to cringe away and hide away from speaking our truth out in the world. But it is our anchor. It is our anchor in the storm. And it is the thing that causes us to shout louder, to speak our message out regardless. Go speak your truth out in the world, knowing that this will change, and change is inevitable, and change is good. It is the very nature of life unfolding. You can fight it all you want. You go try shaking your fist at the moon, wishing it was the sun, and see how far that gets you. It is futile. And when we realize it is futile and we accept what is, that is when greatness begins to unfold in front of us. Because that is what we perceive. We begin to perceive greatness. And there's a saying that when you know the way broadly, you begin to see it in all things. And when you see that change is the only constant, then you begin to change how you adapt and live every day of your life. And take a moment with me now to give thanks for that breath that's coming into your body and flowing out. Because that is the gift you've been given. If it stops, you stop ceasing to be. So the fact that it's constantly in flux, constantly changing, is a blessing. Feel into the gratitude of that. And then take that energy into whatever it is that you're working on in the world. Take that energy into how you show up, how you interact with those people around you, and how you change the world in the way that only you can. I'll see you next time.